Hello, everyone. I hope everyone had a great first week of classes. So, last week we just began with Module 1, and Module 1 was just kind of getting you started, familiar with e-learn, kind of navigating, and also looking at the resources that Water State provides to students. So, we're going to move now into Module 2, which is called Planning Your Academic Pathways. One of the things that you will see every time that you get into course information and content, it's going to be laid out the same. So it's very linear. It will check the boxes as you read through the content. So the first part here, when you select Module 2 from the table of contents, you're going to see a synopsis or a summary, if you will. And it's going to tell you what you're going to be working on for the week. So planning your academic pathway is important because whenever you make a career choice and you decide what you want to do and what you're majoring in, you have to plan for what we call your academic pathway. So, this is also referred to as a 2 year plan. Now, I understand that everyone is on a different path. Some people may only be here for a semester at Water State, some people may graduate from Water State and move into the workforce directly, or some people may graduate from Water State and then transfer on to a 4 year institution. So every pathway looks a little different depending on you in your major. So you're going to be reading chapter 4 in your OER textbook. So remember, you can go to OpenStack, excuse me, educational resource if you want, or you can just use the book that we've embedded in each module. So chapter 4 is embedded in here, as you can see. At the beginning, also, I just tell you what the assessments are going to be. So underneath the description here or the summary, you're going to have our course outcomes. So what we're doing this week and how it's going to be meeting those outcomes or helping you to master those outcomes. And then you have what we call module objectives. So those are just going to be things that you want to focus on specifically for module 2. So for module 2, you're really looking at your personal values, how they help guide your decision. You're looking at short-term goals versus long-term and how your short-term goals will build toward that long-term goal. And then how are you going to make sure you're tracking your progress so you're meeting your goals or going to meet your goal. So the other thing is that last week when you were looking at the different offices, some of us may have not had a chance to get in there and look at the academic division side or your areas of study, which is what you're going to be doing this week. So, whatever degree or certificate or special program or major that you want to pursue, it's important for you to know all the details that you can about that specific career or pathway for you and create what we call an academic plan that helps you track your progress. So, decision processes are continual, right? So, they sometimes things can change or classes get switched around. Maybe your work schedule is different, your families, you have something going on there. So, we always say that your plan is a work in progress and it is a continual one and it can change at any time. But regardless if it changes or not, you still need to know what your pathway looks like and what's required for you if you're trying to get a certificate from us, a degree, or enrolled in a special program or a major. So that's why we do this module. You have a quiz that you're going to be taking, your Module 2 quiz this week. Remember, it's open to you from Friday all the way till Thursday when it'll close because all of our assignments will be due on Thursday evenings. So during that window of time, you can take the quiz multiple times. And at the end of that window, the highest grade will be recorded. So take advantage of that. It's also good as a study tool. The other study tool that you might have is what we call the reading organizers. Now, I did send an email out about this because I had some questions concerning the reading organizer. There is no Dropbox for the reading organizer. This is something I allow students to do and use as a study tool, but it's optional in the sense that if you want to use it to help you study, then I want to give you credit for that. So what we do is anytime that it's close to an exam, there are 3 exams in here. when it's close to an exam, I will say, hey, go ahead and send me your reading organizer. So you'll just mail them to me. And then I can go through it and see what you've put on the reading organizer, and you can earn bonus points toward the exams. So that's why there wasn't a Dropbox for it. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you will be reading chapter 4 in your OER textbook. Some people find it easier just to download the textbook, the PDF form from OpenStack's website, and some students think it's better to use the book sections in here that are embedded in the module. So it's really up to you, however you want to do it. Now, after you read chapter 4 and you're working on your reading organizer, if you choose to do that, you have to do not only your module 2 quiz, you have a plan as well. Now, this one, I'm going to go over and walk you through it. That way you kind of understand what's expected of you. And there's a rubric here as well that gives you the criteria of how I'm going to grade this assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and you will click on making a plan. That's the title of your assignment this week. And again, I do want to mention these are Word documents, the assignments. So if you do not have Microsoft Office on Office 365 on your device, make sure you do before you download it again. But there are instructions in the Getting Started module, excuse me, that will walk you through how to get that, because you do need Office 365 because we do Word documents and you type in them. I've had a couple people take pictures of their handwritten work. It's best for you to just download the assignment. When you click on it, there's an option to download or view as text. I always say download it. That way you can go type directly into the assignment, which is best for you and that I prefer. So I'm going to click on a couple things. The first thing I'm going to click on is the actual assignment itself. So let me make this a little bigger so we can go through this. So there are several parts on this document. The first thing that you're going to look at is going to be the purpose of why we want you to do this to your plan. Well, obviously, I stated earlier that you really need to have goals and make sure you meet your goals. And how we do that is having a plan. So whether you're earning your degree at Water State, like I said, or continuing on to university, like transferring to another institution, it's still important for you to know what your requirements are. So in part 1, this is specifically starting it out with your goals. Okay, so I kind of tell you how many I want you to put as far as sentence wise, so 3 to 5 sentences. And what I want you to do is just kind of explain your career interests, what careers or fields you're interested in exploring, or tell me if you know for sure that that's your passion. I want you to write about it here. What are long-term goals? And when we talk about long-term goals, this is in terms of academics, right? So here would be an example of a long-term academic goal. Earn an Associates of Arts degree, transfer to four-year university, complete a certificate. So these are all examples of a long-term academic goal. So I want you to write about yours. And then we also want you to have short-term goals. This is things that you can accomplish either at the end of this semester or within 2 semesters. I wouldn't go past 2 semesters when we're talking about short-term goals. And then any kind of skills you want to develop. Now remember, when we're talking about skills, most people like to work on skills that will help them in their profession, which is why I listed professional here. But I also want you to consider your academic skills that you want to develop and any maybe even personal skills, because all of these are going to help you reach your long-term goal. Now, part 2 is where you're going to have to use what we call either degree works or catalog to complete this. And what we're going to do is we're going to start out with our semester, the one we're in right now. So what you're going to do is fill out the chart exactly like it is here. So this would be in semester 1, you would write spring 2026. Okay. You can get rid of semester 1. It might be better just to do it like this. That way we know but some people prefer to do it by semester. So whatever is easiest for you. But you will start with spring semester 2026, which is what we're in now. And you will put the department. So if it's history, it'd be HIST, education. So it might be best for you to go to the page I'm going to show you in just a minute and get in your degree works because it'll list your schedule that your classes you're taking now, or you can just pull up your schedule and fill it in. The course number, so every course is going to have a number. For instance, our class that we're in now is education. So EDUC is the department, education department. The course number is 1030. And then the title of that class is called the college experience. So you can also look at your syllabus. Your syllabi will have all this information in it. And then credit hours, these are the hours that you earn for for that specific course, and they go towards your degree because when you do a degree, you have to have so many credit hours to be able to fulfill that responsibility of earning that degree. So it's important for you to know how many credit hours you do each semester. So 12 is considered full time. I know some people have financial aid and there's stipulations of how many courses you take a semester. Some people only do part time. So if you're part time, you might only be taking one or two classes, and that's okay. This is what your schedule is. Now, the second semester will be your semester either going to be in the summer, which some people don't take summer classes because their aid doesn't allow that, or for whatever reason, they're not going to. So your second semester may be fall, right, of 2026. And then again, I left this here. You're obviously not going to take Education 1030 again because we're all going to pass. But it's just to give you an idea. Don't forget to fill it out like this. Okay. Now you're like, okay, so where do I go to get this information? So I'm going to show you two ways. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get into the Water State homepage. Okay. At the top, you're going to see a little button that says My WS. So you're going to click on it. And then there should be, yours may look a little different because mine is faculty, but there should be a page, when you get to My WS, there should be something called Degree Works, and you're going to have to click on it. Whenever you click on Degree Works, it's probably going to either want you to put your student ID or something in there. Now, the bad part is I cannot show you what it looks like because I can't put someone else's Degree Works in there. I normally do this when we're in class and I ask someone, can I have your Water State ID? And they give it to me and can let you see what it looks like. I do not have a faux student ID. I'm going to get one hopefully soon, but anyways, when you click in there, it's going to show you all different types of courses that you need to take for your career, and you're going to start plugging them in. The other way to get to your class list or the kinds of classes you need to take for your degree is if you click Water State and you hover over the tab that says Academics. Now there's a drop down menu. You're going to choose areas of study. Now, there's different ways to navigate. You can search your degree or your major, or you could filter it by the type of degree it is. Like, is it an Associates of Arts? Is it a technical certificate? Is it a Tennessee transfer pathway? So there's different ways that you can do it. Or you can do it based on your interest or major or the division, which most times students either choose interest, majors, or degree types. The other way is to just go through the list here and see if you can find yours. For instance, we at Water State have 159 areas of study, so it's quite a bit to go through. But I'm just going to pick one so you can kind of see what it would look like if we were going to use it to plug in our chart. So let's say I want to be, let's say I want to do family and consumer science. This is an associate of science. This is what we call a Tennessee transfer pathway. Now, once you get in here, I always encourage student, don't just like scroll down and that's it. I want you to read it, okay? Before you start clicking on any buttons, it's good for you to get an overview of what your program is about. For instance, it says that Associate of Science in Family Consumer Science is to provide you with a fundamental understanding of family dynamics, consumer behavior, and resource management. As part of the Tennessee Transfer Pathway, you are guaranteed that your credits will seamlessly transfer to any public university in Tennessee, where you can choose from one of 50 different majors. This program equips you for further academic pursuits in family and consumer sciences, preparing you for diverse careers that impact families and communities. Another great thing about these pages, depending on whatever one your major is or career pathway, is it kind of gives you more career information like, okay, with this degree, how many people are employed? And again, if you'll look, this is specifically to Tennessee, USA, but you can also choose a new state. But it'll give you like how many postings, the trend, what's the average salary for someone that's doing this occupation. Um, that's important for you to read. Now, how you're going to get your list of classes for this specific degree is if you click on curriculum. Okay. Now, remember, this is just a recommended full-time schedule, full-time meaning in that's at least 12 hours. But if you take less than full-time, it will take you longer to get through your pathway. So just keep that in mind. But when you scroll down, it's going to say first year, fall term. Now, you may just started this spring for the first time. So this is going to be a little bit different. I wouldn't get hung up on the top fall term or spring term. What I would look at is the actual courses themselves. Now, you see here, the first year you should be taking English 1010, English composition, um, fundamentals of communication, art or music. So you'll get to choose one. Uh, intro to psychology and then intro to sociology. So you choose which one of those two you want to do. Okay. And then also a mathematics elective. Okay. Which means they have a list of math for you to choose from. Now, when it says elective, sometimes it doesn't give you on this page, it doesn't tell you what math elective, but you can sometimes find that in your degree works, or you can discuss this with your advisor because every semester you will have to meet with your advisor before you can register for courses or for classes. And then you'll see here when you move down to the second semester, it's going to tell you, okay, you again have to take English Comp, but this was English Comp 2. You take lifespan developmental psychology, and then you have a choice of what econ class you want to take. So, do you want to do principles of macroeconomics or do you want to do principles of microeconomics? And then, of course, you will do one of your family relationships courses. So, these are what we call your core major courses. This is what you are going to get a degree in. And then you can choose an humanities elective. Okay, and you'll see out from elective, it'll say select from Walter State's approved general education list. Again, you can do this with your advisor or it might be in your degree works. And then you'll see here your second year, it lists more classes. So what you're going to do is you're going to try to have two screens open because this is the easiest way I can tell you to do this. So you're going to use this screen and then you are going to pull up your chart. Okay, next to that or have it down there. And I would just say, hey, let's go ahead and just start plugging this in. If you are not taking English composition, I would go ahead and put it in. Remember, the first semester is just your schedule right now for spring. Your second semester is going to be what are you going to do in the fall term, right? So let's say that I still need to take English composition. So I'm going to put the department, which is ENGL for English. And then I am going to put the number, which is 1010. And then I'm going to put the title, which it tells me it's English composition. If I can type today would be nice. Yeah, I cannot type today, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, and then next to each course, it will tell you how many credit hours that's worth. Now, many of them are 3. Rarely do you have a 1 credit hour class unless you're doing something like a science. If you're doing a science, a lot of times they'll have the 3-hour lecture, but then they'll have the 1-hour lab that goes along and you have to take those two together. So that's why it matters when we say credit hours. Okay. And then you will, let's say I'm going to do my communications class. So then I would put the department, COMM, and then I'd put 2025, and then I would type out fundamentals of communication. That was a little easier to type now. And that is 3.0. And then I would keep going down here and I'd fill it out. Now, if you were only here for one semester, then you would need to write that up here. I had a student this semester email me saying that they will only be here for one semester. So then you would put that in your statement that you are only going to be here for this amount of time and then you're moving on to what? Okay. That way it's easier for me to see what you're putting in this chart. Now, some people will do the full water state pathway, which is what I want you to do. Because you'll see here, it's a 2-year degree, but it may take you 3 years to get through it, and that's okay. So don't focus on how many semesters you only have listed. Focus on what you're going to do here at Water State before you move on. Okay. And then your second year again, you'll have chemistry you've got to take one and then the lab. So that's what I was talking about earlier. You have to take your sciences, you always have a lab with it. And then it'll tell you you still have to have a history, you still need an English literature elective, and you also need a general elective. And in parentheses, it'll tell you you can't, if it's a course you need help with advisor, it's going to let you know that. Now, if you want to break it down a different way than here, what you can do is just look at each individual area. So we know that your program, Family Consumer Sciences, requires you to complete 41 hours here. Okay. So of those 41 hours, 9 of them are going to be communication. So these are the ones you have to take. So you can just do it this way if you'd rather. We know you have to have 9 hours in humanities and fine arts, right? So you do these classes. You have to have 6 hours in behavior social science. So that's going to be your intro to psychology or sociology, and then that's going to be your principles of macroeconomics or micro. So whenever it says or, you got to do one or the other. You don't do both. Then history, you have to have 6 hours in history, and it lists the ones you have to take. Natural science, you have to have 8, and these are the ones you have to do. And then math, you take 3 hours, which lucky for you, you only have to do one math course in this specific career. And then you have to have 19 hours in your core requirement classes. So these are going to be ones that are directly tied to family and consumer science. Okay. So for those 19 hours, you're going to have nutrition, which is Health 2010. You'll have to have lifespan psychology. You'll have to have an approved child development course, an approved family relationship course, and then 7-hour advisor approved electives. So you'll see here it's going to break down how those 41 hours are going to be. So really you could either do it that use this, or use your degree works by going to the Water State homepage, selecting My WS, and then degree works. Okay, so that'll be that. Now, let's finish on with our assignments. You're going to go down and keep filling it out till you can't fill it out anymore. And then you're going to scroll down more because there's a second page. So don't forget, there's more than one page. Okay, so that was part 2, filling in your courses. So you know what courses you need to take for this degree or this certificate, or before you can transfer to another university or to another institution, excuse me. Part 3 is really talking about advising. We want to know if you've met with your advisor at all. I hope you have before you register for spring. Um, and then adapt your plan so you will keep a record of this. And then part 4 is really going to go back to what we did in Module 1, the first week of our work, where we had to look at what resources were available to us as a Water State student, and you're going to see what in look at the classes that you're taking. So if you are not good at math and in your semester 2 you've got to take a math course, then put I'm going to use the math lab, or I'm going to use tutoring, because and then tell me the purpose of using that office. How do they help you? Here's some examples. Like, are you going to on that semester, if you're not good at writing, so maybe you have comp 1 or comp 2 and you're going to utilize the writing lab. So writing lab was one what I put here, and how are they going to help you, right? So you're going to just try to look at each semester and look at the courses in that tape chart up here, and then see what office would be able to support you during that semester. This is what you will complete, and then you will put it, you would save it once it's completed, and then you will submit it to Dropbox. Now, I always give you a Dropbox link. When you click on it, it takes you to Dropbox. But if you don't want to do that, you can also click Assessments and click Dropbox. Remember, when you go to the Dropbox, you have to scroll down a little bit. Um, we're working in Unit 1, and you'll see Module 2 there. So that's where you'll submit it. And then you also have to take your Module 2 quiz. So that's basically what we're going to be working on this week. Next week, I am going to start looking at exploring the field and then our job readiness module and talking a little bit more about that since we're starting to get into our career pathways. That'll be a good opening next week for us to talk about those two modules. All right. Remember, all work is due on Thursday evening. So you'll see here the due date, February 5th. The quiz will also close on February 5th. I hope everyone has a great week. And until next time, take care.